for or against a petition. If you could sign at the podium before addressing the board. The first matter before us is under continuances. This is ZB 2017-11. The petition's a variance. The applicant is Delmai Ramirez, property located at 205 Smith Street. And the petition, the applicant is seeking relief under section 5.1 for usable open space, side yard setbacks, lot size, and land area per dwelling unit to convert a single-family dwelling unit to a two-family dwelling unit. The subject property is located in the traditional multifamily zoning district. Is the petitioner here, please? Yes, if you can come up to the podium. Good evening. How are you? Good. And are you Ms. Ramirez?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. If you could tell the board what your plans are, please.
Well, the reason that we are requesting the permit is because we are aware that our property does not contain the 1,000 square footage of open space.
Okay. So could you, so you want to convert from a single to a two-family, correct?
Two, yes.
And so can you, I know we received some comments from the city, but could you explain what you currently, how long have you currently resided at the address?
A year.
A year, okay. And I did have a conversation with DPD earlier regarding if this was approved or not approved, but especially if it was approved, there seems to be, I would call it, some challenges as far as the building department, if you're going to do this conversion.
Okay.
And have you looked into that at all? Have you talked to anybody in the city about that?
No.
No? Okay. All right. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us about the project before we get started?
No.
Okay. That's fine. Thank you. All right, I'm going to open it up to the public. Is anyone here that would like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? In favor? Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Anyone like to speak in opposition? 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 Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. I'd like to open it up to the board. Sean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the applicant, Ms. Ramirez. So you're not doing any construction on the building itself. You're just looking to convert it.
Correct.
I'm just curious because we don't have a layout of the plans from how the house is structured. I mean, right now, my understanding it's a single family with an in-law apartment. So how is the floor plan structured?
It's a split level.
Okay.
And the first level has 3 bedrooms, a bathroom, dining, and living room in the kitchen.
Okay, what about the second level?
The second level, which is where I live, has 4 rooms, the kitchen, living room, dining room, and a bathroom, and a deck.
Okay, so is that a 1-bedroom up in the second level, or is it?
4.
Oh, 4 bedrooms?
4 bedrooms.
Okay, so there's 7 bedrooms total in the whole?
Correct.
Between the 2 buildings, okay. That was pretty much my only question I have. I mean, I understand, you have some, for the variances purposes, there are a couple, some of the relief you're seeking, some of it could be deemed a bit minimal, but some of it is pretty big. But it looks like it does seem to fit in with the neighborhood. There's many
properties.
Many properties that are two-family or multifamily that are in that area. So I wish you the best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple questions. How will you, so it's a split level turned sideways. I went out to the site a couple times. In general, I don't have an issue with it being converted to a two-family, but I have some questions similar to Sean's. One is, how will you separate access to the first floor? What will you do, wall off access so that you don't have access to it from the second floor? Or?
They have both. The house has 2, each house has two entrances. And the second level, which is where I live, there is a door upstairs, and then it has the stairs down to the main entrance, and there is stairs down to get to the first level. So each unit has its own entrances.
Okay, yeah, again, that's, I guess, not clear from the plans that we were given, and then having gone out to the site a couple times, it's hard to tell from the outside. I did notice that there's a door in what would normally be the back of
The
the
back.
house, again, even though the house is turned sideways.
Sideways, yes.
So are there also, is there any means of egress from the back side of the house, which is really the right side, I guess? In other words, the part that can't be seen from the street. Are there doors on that side of the home into the backyard, so to speak?
There is one which is that goes to the deck, which is the second door for where I live, which is the second unit. So there is a door which is towards the deck.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to make sure, or I'd like to make sure, and maybe, I think I'm going to recommend, and other members may or may not recommend, that you do, assuming, let's say that the variance is granted, that you do go back and meet with the planning office to tie up some loose ends, to make sure that you have, I guess, two means of egress. If you're separating, splitting the house, you'd need two for the first floor and two for the second floor. And then I have some questions about the driveway area. It's kind of unclear. I went out there over the last couple of weeks, and there's a lot of snow, and so it's hard to really make out the setup of the driveway. But it looks like you may have 3 spaces, maybe 4, but the 4th space is really in an unpaved area where it looks like a tree was cut down over the last couple of years. So I don't know. I know that one of the comments from another city department was in regard to the driveway and the fact that there's a curb cut that's basically the length of the driveway. And you may have inherited that condition when you bought the house. You said you only bought it about
A year.
a year ago. So I know that was one of the concerns of one of the city departments, is actually identifying the driveway area, because it's unclear, and we don't really have a plan that shows that.
Okay.
So that's a recommendation or condition that I would add if we were to approve the variance. And again, I think it does seem like there's enough. We're not supposed to consider on-street parking usually, but that section of Smith, actually, I wasn't sure when I went down Smith if that section was two-way or one-way, because it's one-way for a stretch, and then there's a cross street, and then it becomes two-way, and then it becomes one-way again. The section that you're on, was I driving the wrong way, or was it a two-way section?
It's a two-way.
Oh, good, okay.
Yeah, it's very...
It's a
very
little
tight.
narrow and congested, but both times I went out there, I found a lot of spaces on the street. Again, I'd like to see if we can make room for 4 off-street spaces, but it's kind of unclear if you have enough room to do that.
Okay. I have a question.
Sure.
And in case that we cannot, we're thinking to make sure we have the 4 parking spaces. But in case that we cannot do that, what else do we have to do? Is there like a permit that I have to request for not having 4 parking spaces?
I would defer to the planning office, but for the details, but I think the requirement would be 2 for each unit, correct, Patrick?
Yeah, so you need a total of 4, 2 for each unit. If we came to a decision that we couldn't have, a 4 wouldn't fit into the space that is offered in the plan, they would need another variance for another space.
Okay.
Okay, I think those are two of my, not really concerns. The driveway is certainly a concern, and then I was just trying to figure out how two separate families would get in and out of the building. And I think that's all I had. I did want to note that I did see the public meeting signs taped to the front of the house or the side of the house this weekend. I know that delayed. I think you were originally scheduled to come before us at our last meeting, but there were some questions about whether the public meeting notice was published. So that's all I have right now, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Van?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. I have no objections to this petition. It fits in with the neighborhood, with the character of the neighborhood, so wish you the best of luck, Mr. Morris.
Thank you.
Thank you, Van. Gary?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the petitioner, as you move forward with the reside on this property, will you remain as owner occupied?
Yes.
That's the intention. I did have the same concern as my colleague, is that how it relates with the egress, and I'll listen to what my remainder board members have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
No further comments, Mr. Chairman.
You, Dennis?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask a couple of questions here. The first one is the deck. So is it your intention that the deck would stay open for availability in the future for the second floor tenant? It would be.
Correct.
And Patrick, the zoning bylaws don't count decks as open area, is that correct?
No, they do not.
Yet the idea of the open area is for an open area for families to enjoy the space?
Right, yes, but I'm thinking on the ground level.
I understand that, but it almost seems like if it's a multifamily situation and you have a deck available to a unit on the second level, that it kind of would serve that same purpose as the open area would on the ground level.
Yeah, I understand your point. I think we still consider it as the structure and not the space within the property on the lot, other than the structure.
Right, right. And I think that if we didn't have the deck there, we'd come really close to meeting the open area requirement. It really is an odd scenario because you can't count 10-foot side yard setbacks into the open area, and they only have 10 feet, so you can't count any of that, because if you do the math, you know, your home probably occupies like 1,200 square feet, and your parking occupies maybe 700 square feet, yet your lot is 5,000 square feet.
Mm-hmm.
So you definitely have a lot of open area there on the lot.
Yep.
And we're kind of struggling meeting that requirement because probably it's too bad, because I think you're meeting it intent with the deck on the second floor, so.
I have a question. And the open space is just the back of the house or the side of the house, or any open space
Right.
of the house?
So you can't count open space that is within 10 feet to your property line, I believe, Patrick, right? So you have a 10-foot setback and maybe 15 in the rear or something like that.
That's actually something I would have to check on. I can't even confirm that. But to answer your question, open space, it doesn't have to be landscaped and it doesn't have to be in your rear yard. You could have landscape count as your front yard as well.
But you just can't park in it.
Right,
if you're
so
parking
in
in
your instance, your front yard would not count as landscape
Right.
space. Or, I mean, open space.
Because
Okay.
you're using it for parking.
Right.
Okay. But there is more space, because I counted we counted the open space, just the back. I mean, there is more space in front of the house and the back of the house, which is the side of the house.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, I think the way the open space piece is written, it punishes your lot because of how your building sits on the lot. if your lot was pulled over to one side, you'd be able to count some of that side yard, but because you have 10-foot wide side yards, you can't count any of that land in the open space.
Okay.
For instance, that's one of the negatives that you have. And it's a long, narrow lot, and you have a long, narrow house. So I think there's some justification for looking at that requirement and saying that because of the way your lot's configured, you have a hardship, in my opinion. So at least that's what I see. How does the parking scenario with 2 spaces required per lot, per unit work on this site? We have 4 parking spaces across the front right now.
So in her proposed plan, she has 4 spaces, but I think what we touched upon in the memo, one of the spaces isn't
Counted.
adequate, right?
Because you
To
can't
city
have 4.
standards, it's not paved and it needs to be paved.
But can we have 4 spaces side by side?
Yeah,
And into that situation 2 weeks ago.
right, we did. I'm gonna have to check my zoning code for that.
And so your lot width, I think, is roughly 40 plus feet wide. If you have 3 feet of green space on your side areas, your 9-foot parking space, that's 42 feet. I think that's pretty close to meeting the width. Patrick?
Sorry, what's your question?
If you have a 9-foot width required 9 by 18 parking space, and then you have 3-foot green landscaping between the edge of the pavement and the property line, that's 42 feet. And I think they're pretty close to 42 feet across the front there.
Right,
So we probably meet it if we
Yes.
want to build it that way.
yeah, so I think that she could, 4 spaces could fit in that space, they're just, right now, it doesn't meet the 4-space standard, because one of them is not really paved, but it could easily fit 4 spaces.
But we would have a problem with the curb cut being too wide. Or are you allowed to have a 36-foot wide curb cut there?
So I think looking at the engineering comments memo that we have, I perceive it as that if she was able to work with the applicant, they would be able to fit in the 4 spaces, even though it is
Okay,
wider than what's
Yep.
technically required in the zoning code.
okay. All right. I mean, I'd be in favor of a condition, if this goes forward, that we would work with the city engineer and planning department to resolve the, in the additional parking space to be designed for that front yard. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I meant to ask you earlier, did you receive the letter from Mr. Mayo from the city engineer, the comments that she had made?
Yes.
Yeah. And I know some of the board members have already talked about that. So just so I understand on the parking, you said there is room, they could put a 4th space in?
Yes,
A legal
long as
space that
she-
meet the requirements, the parking?
Right, and then a permit would be required to go through the city engineer's office for a driveway permit.
Right, which is captured by
Right.
the city engineer here. Yeah, I mean, to Dennis's point about, the petition is here for a variance, and, if we look at the prerequisites, based on the size and shape of this lot and the zone that it's in and the type of structure that it's there, that I believe the hardship is, I don't think we've had a petitioner like this before with a single family and a TMF with the house that's basically turned sideways, and for whatever reason. So I just want to make it clear that I think, to answer the question about the 4 parking spots, because of the shape and size of the lot, that's how the 4 spaces can fit there. I just want to make sure that the city agrees that, I know based on the plot plan that was given to us, it shows kind of like that 4th spot. Looks like they get about 3/4 of a spot there, so And if they add that fourth spot, does that reduce the curb cut?
So I think the curb cut is what it is regardless
Correct,
of what's
yeah,
changed.
we're not gonna be asking a condition that
No,
add
she
a
won't
fourth
be.
spot and start messing with the curb cut.
Right.
Okay. And then, there was a comment about increasing the pavement. Now, was that in relationship to adding an additional spot for the parking? Or is that in regards to something else, increasing the pavement?
I think in regards to that, that was, the city engineer was mentioning a statute that we have, or an ordinance, that in some certain districts, you can't have more than 50%
Right.
of landscape space, but it doesn't apply for this zoning district.
Okay, all right, yep. And any driveway work must leave sufficient room for pedestrian access to the street. So if we add this fourth space, is there any impact to that pedestrian access? It says any driveway work must leave sufficient room for pedestrian access to the street.
So I think meant by that was if the applicant was granted the variances and they were applying for a driveway permit, if there were any,
Yep.
they needed to fix any pedestrian access, that would be done with the
Okay.
driveway permit.
Yep.
Not necessarily that there is
Yep.
one now.
And I guess the last question I'll just bounce off of you is, sidewalks will all be repaired or replaced if driveway work is done? Is there even a sidewalk in front of your house? Is there a sidewalk on that side of the street? Yeah, there is. Okay, yeah. So, is there any condition on sidewalk work? I mean, how does that come into play in regards to this petition?
So I think the engineering office likes to see now if there's any interference with current sidewalks, that when they're replaced, that they be to
Right,
city standards.
Because their current parking, there's no issue with them blocking the sidewalk, correct?
No.
Right, yeah, okay. So I think, based on my question there on the sidewalk work, I think one of the members mentioned about a condition, work with DPD and the city engineer's office, which I think will encapsulate a lot of my questions as it relates to the parking. But, I think each of the members made their points about the project. For me, as I just stated, I believe the prerequisite of the hardship most definitely applies for this petition. But as I stated at the beginning of the meeting, if it's approved by this board, you also have to go before the building department to do the actual conversion, and that might run into some other areas that this board won't cover. Just for informational purposes only. Okay, anybody else? I think the other condition I heard was, I guess the construction or the implementation of the fourth parking space will be a condition. The other one was work with DPD and the city engineer's office. Anybody have any other conditions or any other comments before we make a motion? Great, so. Okay, so could I have a motion, please?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the matter before us, I make a motion to approve CB-2017-11, petition of variance, the applicant Delmy Ramirez, the property located at 205 Smith Street. The petition, the applicant is seeking relief under section 5.1 for usable open space, side yard setback, lot size, and land area per dwelling unit to convert a single-family dwelling unit to a two-family dwelling unit. The subject property is located in the traditional multifamily zoning district with the following conditions. Work with DPD to solve any additional parking spots, such as a fourth parking spot or driveway.
Okay, could I have a second, please?
Second.
Roll call?
Member McCarthy? Chairman Bailey?
Approved with conditions?
Member Perrin,
Approve with conditions.
Member Peck,
Approve with conditions.
Member Palia,
Approved with conditions.
Member Callahan,
Approve with conditions.
Member McCarthy.
Approve with conditions.
Okay, Ms. Ramirez, you've been approved.
Thank
Wish you
you.
the best of luck.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Okay, next matter before us is ZB 2017-5. The applicant is GPG Vonum LLC. The petition's a special permit, property located at 557 Vonum Ave, and the proposal consists of a change in the use from nursing home to multifamily residential with 18 units, with 31 parking spaces and any other relief required. The proposed project is located in the suburban single-family zoning district and requires special permit approval from the Zoning Board of Appeals under Article 4.52, non-conforming uses of the Lowell zoning ordinance and any other relief required. Good evening, Ms. Coates. How are you?
Good evening, Chairman.
So
Evening
I
to the
guess you were here a month ago,
Correct.
and a month ago you were also here, and you expressed you thought things were moving in the right direction. And so could you update the board on where we're at, please?
Absolutely. So, as you mentioned, things have continued to move in the right direction, and we've made a lot of progress in the last 30 days since I was last here before the board. We are well along in the path of working something out amicably regarding the current appeal that's pending in Superior Court. So, we do have an agreement in principle in place. We just need to work out some of the finer terms of the agreement at the city level, and hopefully if we're successful in doing so in short order, I will be presenting the application before the board very soon.
Okay. So is your intention to continue working whatever issues that are in front of you, or do you envision at some point saying, I'm going to withdraw and let's just move with the acceptance that's already been approved by this board?
Yeah, so I am very, very committed to the project.
Yep.
I'm very committed to revitalizing that corner. I think it's unfortunate that the neighbors have had to deal with a boarded-up building for so long. I think that the project will bring good things to the neighborhood and will accomplish good things in terms of housing for the disabled and so forth. So in that light, I have no intention of withdrawing the current application. I'm not asking in that application for any additional relief beyond what's already been approved and written into the zoning ordinances. I think there's been an earnest effort to meet any parking requirements such that we can avoid off-street parking. And I think this current application accomplishes that. And I'll be able, when I present before the board, I'll be able to give more details, and you guys will be able to make a determination on that. But that was the effort that was put forth, and I think we've accomplished that. So I do feel comfortable with bringing that application before the board, however long it takes. As I mentioned before, we've been making incremental progress, and it's at the rate that I still feel optimistic that we'll get there, and I'll be able to present.
Okay, so your intention this evening is what?
My intention this evening is to request of the board a continuance to April 10th, which is 2 weeks from now.
Okay.
And that's also an indication that, again, we do have an agreement in principle, and I think we're pretty close to the finish line. As I mentioned, we just need to work out some of the finer details at the city level. And once the law department can get comfort around certain terms and we're able to kind of rework certain things to give them that comfort, we'll be back before you to present.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm just trying to find out when we're going to get to the end game here, and
I know.
when you will actually present. Um, I'll grant the continuance to the April 10th meeting, and hopefully what we'll hear at that time is that you'll either proceed or take some other action. So hopefully we'll have a definitive answer on the 10th of April.
Yeah, and real time, if I may, I'd like to amend that request. Just want to make sure we don't have another head fake and we give ample time. So I do feel that we're very close to the finish line. Unfortunately, it's not completely up to me. And so the time frame is not completely deterministic also. So I'm going to amend that request to extend it to April 24th, actually.
Okay. All right. So hearing that,
Mr. Chairman, can I just add a couple things? I mean, this has been dragging on for quite some time. And we got the decision, the memorandum from the law department back on January 9th. And I haven't received any information from Mr. Coates or from his counsel as to what your position is with regards to what the law department has said about this petition. And they've clearly said that this particular petition, cannot proceed any further. It has to be done through the courts, and if the court remands it, it has to be through your prior relief petition. So it appears to me, in my reading of the memorandum, and you can tell me what your position is, Mr. Coates. It was my hope that Attorney Geary would be here to, maybe go over it as well. That even if we continue this particular petition, we still can't take any action on it, because even if the court remands, if your appeal is successful, you have an agreement, the court remands it back to us, it's got to be on the underlying petition that you were previously granted relief. So it's becoming. It just seems to me that we're kind of kicking the can down the road on a petition that's ultimately we have no jurisdiction over and we can't do anything with. So I would suggest, and it's up to you. I mean, I would suggest you maybe want to consider withdrawing this, get everything in order, and then when you come back, it's going to come back on the underlying petition where relief was already previously granted, which is under appeal right now.
Sure.
Because I mean, if we come back, the thing is, Mr. Coach, you understand. I mean, we all want to see the end game, and I'm sure you want to see the end game as well. But kicking the can down the road every month, where the public's showing up for these things, it's just not benefiting anybody. So that's my suggestion.
Yeah.
At this point right now, I mean, it's again, if we're back here in April 24th and nothing's been done, I mean, it's I don't know. It just kind of seems like we're wasting time.
Sure. So thank you for the suggestion. And to answer your question, to provide more information, I understand you guys don't have as much visibility into what the current status is, and also what the game plan is that we're executing against relative to that January 9th opinion from the law department. And if I remember correctly, the January 9th opinion states that while this matter is still pending in Superior Court, they recommend that the board not take any further action on it. And the operative word is while this is still pending in Superior Court. So after further conversations, Attorney Geary is one of the attorneys on my team. I have other attorneys on my team. There is another firm that is handling this aspect of the project. And so with working with the law department, our understanding, and the law department could tell you better what their understanding is, but our understanding is that if we are able to stay the current appeal, which means that the plaintiff and the defendant will take no further action, if we're willing to stay the motion, and this is per, again, my understanding is per instruction from the law department, and that's why we've set out to execute against this, right, and try to get something in place, an agreement between plaintiff and defendant. But if we're able to stay the current appeal action, then the law department will allow us to come back before the board, and the current application will be heard. If the current application is approved, the prior November 23rd, 2015 application will be rescinded from the applicant, which would be GPG Varnum. So that is kind of procedurally what we're hoping to accomplish. And I hope that sheds a little bit more light on the fact that once the law department gives the board the green light, we can come before the board and it can be heard before the board. again, I can't speak on behalf of the law department, and I have not had direct communications with them on this matter. I'm represented by counsel, of course, so I'm only kind of regurgitating what I'm being informed. But that is my understanding that it will legally be allowed to be heard before the board, and the board can take action on it.
Well, yeah, you're correct. That's what the law department said. I agree with you on that. But they also said that, we can't assume our own volition, this new application that you're presenting is going to rectify all the wrongs with the appeal, because it can't have two things going on at once. So if there is some idea, if there's some, I don't know what the agreement is again, if there's some stay going on or some planned stay for the court appearance, I guess that's fine. But again, I'm looking another month down the road, and I don't want to see. Because I don't want. I'm sure you don't want to be back here another month from now, asking for more time, and I'm sure you're well aware that this thing has a lot of public interest, obviously, and to have members of the public show up every month just to ask for more time, more continuances. I mean, like I said, on something that the law department seems to say that we really have no power to hear, just seems to be, not in the well interest of your time or the public's time as well.
Yeah,
I know you want to get this thing off the ground and going. So I
hear you.
I understand that totally, but
and
that's just my suggestion to try to line everything up, get everything in order first, and then come back. But I will, with the pending, with your representation that this, with the part of the agreement is in a pending possible stay of the Superior Court appeal. I mean, I would consider one more month, but again, looking a month down the line, I don't know how I'll feel after that, depending on how things play out. So I just want to let you know that's.
And to your point, I agree. This is a hardship for the public. This is a hardship for my company. This whole situation is a hardship. And I think it's unfortunate because I think that, again, the neighbors have to live with a boarded up building in the meantime. It's a hardship to my company because I have multiple projects going on. And so trying to plan the completion of another project with a moving target, right, it's kind of hard to fit that into the project schedule. Their financial costs, right, to holding a building, their financial costs to litigation. So I completely agree with you. This is a hardship.
No, again, I'm not trying to give you a hard time about this, and
this is a hardship all around.
Understandable, Mr. Coates.
And to your point, I guess I have a question for the board. Is there a mechanism, and maybe Patrick can also answer this, is there a mechanism by which we can set a date that's 60, 90 days out, whatever we think is appropriate, so that we're not having to go through this further, and when things are ready, if it is before the 60 and 90-day period, some sort of mechanism where we can get back on the agenda? Is that possible?
Well, I'm not going to entertain the question. That's not why we're here this evening, but what I will do is, can you carry that message back to the law department and see if they have any answers for this board in relationship to Mr. Coates' question?
Sure.
Okay. All right. So,
I was sorry to interrupt, Mr. Chairman. I just want to make sure that we get that.
it's all right.
No,
All right. So,
Thank
Mr.
you, Mr.
Coates,
Coates.
we're going to continue this to April 24th at this point.
Okay.
All right. All right. Could I have a motion, please?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the matter before us, I make a motion to continue to our April 24th meeting.
Have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Chairman Bailey,
Continue to April 24th.
Member Perrin,
Continue April 24th.
Member Peck,
Continue.
Member Palia,
Continue to April 24th.
Member Callahan,
Continued April 24th.
and Member McCarthy.
Continue to April 24th.
We'll see you on the 24th, Mr. Coates.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Okay, next matter before us is under new business. This is ZB 2017-13, and the petition's a special permit. The applicant is Salah Aliwa. The property is located at 226 Appleton Street, and the petition, the applicant is seeking special permit approval for a wall sign on 226 Appleton Street located in the urban mixed-use zoning district under section 6.34 and any other relief required by the City of Lowell zoning ordinance. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Good evening, gentlemen.
Yep. So can you tell us about your sign, please?
I'm requesting as an owner of the Abu Al-A's Market located at 226 Appleton Street to put a PVC sign on the front of my store, which is 8 by 4 feet. And there was an old sign there, 4 by 4 feet, for the old owner business, but was put in the illegal way. But since I lease this place, I'm trying to do everything in the right way.
Okay.
So I'm just requesting if I can get the proof for the sign 8 by 4 on the front of the store.
Okay. All right. Okay, and so the comments received from the city, it looks like there's no issues with the proposed sign that this gentleman would like to put up. And did you say PVC?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Anything else you'd like to add?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what we'll do, we'll open it up to the public, and then we'll move it to the board. All right, sir? Anyone here that'd like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor, in favor? Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Anyone like to speak in opposition? Opposition, opposition. Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. I'd like to open up to the board. Sean?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have no questions or comments, and this seems pretty straightforward. There's no issues. I mean,
Great.
looks like you need to, trying to get the business off the ground, and you need to show people what your goods are. So, like, it looks pretty nice, so I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the applicant, just a quick question. I think it was already mentioned in the comments, but right now you don't have any plans to illuminate the sign? There won't be any lighting or?
No, sir, it's just going to be a basic sign. This will not be with a light, will not be 3D, just going to be a basic flat sign.
Okay. And are you the owner of the building, or do you lease or rent from the?
I lease for 2 years the first floor of the building.
Okay. So you're not responsible for the fact that there was some signage there before, that, as was mentioned, that's the previous person who owns the building may have put some signage there that was illegal or inappropriate, but that has nothing to do with your application, right? So, and I went by there this weekend. I noticed that you have a bunch of stock, in the windows, things ready to start selling. So we'll hopefully get the sign up, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike. Van?
I have no questions. I do have a comment. I think it's always a great thing when a new business always tries to open its store in Lowell. And, I applaud you for doing the right thing, going through the process and getting the sign and all that. So best of luck to you, sir.
Thank you, Van. Carrie?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I concur with my colleagues. You hit a right or wrong that you noticed in opening a new business in the city of Lowell for the neighborhood is always a good thing, so I appreciate you coming out this evening with the petition. I wish you the best of luck over there.
Thank you.
No
Thank
further
you.
questions, Mr. Chairman.
Dennis?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Beautiful looking sign. And how do you say the name of the market? Abu Al-E's?
Abu Al-A's.
Al-Is. Beautiful. You're not doing illumination. You're not trying to light it at night. What are your hours of operation? What are the hours of operation?
Well, I'm just gonna use the lights that's already on the front of the stores, and I can use the light of the street.
And so that's adequate to have plenty of visibility for the store, for the signage?
Sir.
Great. Well, I wish you the best of luck. Beautiful location. It looks like it's going to be a great store.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Okay, well, I agree with all my board members. Like Van said, it's good to see a new business start up. And you're doing the right thing by getting the right sign, and that's always a positive. So with that, so I believe the petitioners met the burden for the sign. And if there's no other comments, if I could have a motion, please.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the matter before us, make a motion to approve ZB-2017-13, petition type special permit, the applicant, Salih Aliwa, the property located at 226 Appleton Street. The petition, the applicant is seeking special permit approval for a wall sign on 226 Appleton Street, located in the urban mixed-use zoning district. under section 6.3.4 and any relief required of the City of Lowell zoning ordinance.
Do I have a second?
Second motion?
Roll call.
Chairman Bailey,
Approved.
Member Perrin,
Approved.
Member Peck,
Approve.
Member Pelia,
Approved.
Member Callahan,
Approved.
Member McCarthy.
Approve.
Okay, sir, you've been approved. Wish you the best of luck.
Thank you
Thank
so
you very
much.
much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, our next order of business is petition is ZB 2017-12, petitions of variance. The applicant is Sign Design, Inc., property located at 1001 Pawtucket Boulevard. The petition, the applicant is seeking a variance to install one 28-square-foot wall sign that fronts a parking lot under section 6.3.2.18 and any other relief required of the City of Lowell zoning ordinance. Good evening, Mr. Martin. How are you?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm here on behalf of the tenant of this property, Rapid Micro Biosystems. You may recall I was here a few months ago for a sign for another tenant on this same building, 1001 Pawtucket Boulevard. It's on the west wall of the building. I think we've submitted the drawings. When I was here last time, we were looking at I guess the southwest wall closest to the street. This would be on the northwest wall closest to the rear of the property, but facing the side parking lot on the west. So we need the variance because we're not facing the street. We're on a wall that doesn't face the street, and it's more than 45-degree angle. So we submitted the drawing. It's going to be an aluminum sign, not lit at night. And we'd request the variance. Be happy to answer any questions members of the board have.
All right. I don't have any questions at this point, so I'll open it up to the public. Anyone here like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? In favor? Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Anyone here like to speak in opposition? 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 Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Open up to the board. Sean?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have any questions or concerns, so thank you.
Thank you. Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the petitioner, or maybe this is a more general question for the folks that own and manage the building. I'm just wondering how much more space is still left to be leased out, and whether or not we could have multiple tenants and eventually have signs covering the wall, I guess, at some point. I don't know and that may not be something you can answer. I don't have an issue with this sign for this applicant, but that's more of a general question. I know you've been involved with other applicants at this building. So.
Right. I mean, I think there is still a fair amount of space to be leased, but I think part of the attractiveness of this building is the branding, and so these signs, at least the ones I've been here for, on the side walls, I think we're really trying to brand it as Cross River Center. I can't say, if we got a tenant that took half the building and they wanted their sign, I think we would want to permit that, and I think the city would welcome that tenant. So I can speak with the owners about what their plans are for the future, but I think everybody's conscious of we don't want a whole lot of signs up, but we would make accommodations for good-paying tenants like this one.
No, and I agree, and I think the owner has done a great job, it seems, of marketing the building. I know recently Scheit and Bachman moved in there, and I could anticipate them wanting to put maybe a wall sign facing one of the parking lots as well. And I do appreciate that there isn't really any signage on the section of the building that actually faces Pawtucket Boulevard. I know there are a lot of trees there that would hinder the sight line to the signage, but I guess that's just a general thought that I had about eventually filling the entire side of the building with wall signs. And that kind of segues into the planning office provided us with a question about the two Autolive or Autolive signs that are already on the building, and whether or not we had, and again, this may not apply to this applicant, but the planning office included it in their comments that there are two signs there, and they're not sure whether those came before us either several years ago or more recently.
Right, so I did see that memo. I got a copy of it sent to me on Friday. I tried to do a little investigating today. Farley White, who owns the building now, their ownership dates to 2012, I believe. These signs predate their ownership. We did inquire of the tenant, and all they could say without digging further was, they did seek permission at the time. Now, I don't know what the zoning required, or when these were put up, but at least in this owner's ownership, these signs predate that. So if there's need to get these things legally in compliance, I'm happy to work with the owner and the tenant to do that. But we just haven't been able to determine whether they are legally, they were done with a permit or they're pre-existing non-conforming. I just didn't have the memo in enough time to be able to react to that.
Okay, and I wasn't, I'm not questioning, I only brought it up because I knew the signs had been there for a long time. I think Autolive or Autolive was one of the first sort of new tenants as that building, like you said, prior to Farley and White's ownership, they were one of the early entrants into that building when it was practically empty. But I only brought it up because again, Department of Planning and Development mentioned it in the comments. Again, I'm not holding that, against this particular application, but because it was there in writing, I thought I would.
Understood. That's why I looked into it too.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Van?
I have no comments, Mr. Chairman.
Gary?
No comments, Mr. Chairman.
Dennis?
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple questions, but I'd like to echo Mike's comments here that we should have a comprehensive plan for signage for the building going forward, so that we end up with a cohesive aesthetic element that we all want to be proud of. And I think it's great that we're showcasing these corporate images on this building. But I just think that if there's a sign band consistent element across the top, that we carry that through on all the sides, or we do something to unify the graphics. I'm just a little worried that we're starting to piecemeal these approvals, and we don't have a whole package as far as how we're going to go forward with future signage. So I don't know, I'd like to just kind of condition this approval that the applicant provide DPD cohesive signage package for future applications in the event that more signs come to us. You have this problem, I think, with this building, that you have the sides that you need to put the branding on.
Right.
And so we'll probably see you again, is my point.
Fair enough. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Well, the intent of you being here this evening is predicated on, and we talked about this when you were here the first time about coming in for the signage, so I believe why you're here and what the outcome is. Obviously, the sign meets the acceptance of the city as far as the size and shape. The location is what drove the variance to be come to light, so I don't see any issues. The comments around the, what's going to happen with that side of the building, I'll let you, Mr. Martin, think about that and work that out. That's not why you're here this evening, but it's a byproduct of, since I've been on this board, signage has always been kind of a rough area for this board to deal with. Even in your council days, we try to get stuff to you guys, but
You can blame the council that adopted the ordinance, right?
there you go. There you go. Easy to say now, right? So as I stated, I believe you've met the burden, and everything is... I also, if I recall, when you were here the last time, we were talking about signage on the building, and then I had asked something about the street signage that's there, and I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you did say the tenants wouldn't have any signage on the street. Is that correct or not correct?
I don't think there is any now, and I don't think that's the plan, but,
Okay.
but I don't know if I can commit to that for.
Yeah, oh, no,
Yeah.
because I was trying to figure it out, because the signs were going up on the side of a building, why wouldn't the tenants just want to have the street sign, you know what I mean? But then, how many signs can you push into that one structure that's there? But that was the only reason why I asked the question.
The last time I was here, I was worried about the reindeer, and that there weren't too many of them.
Okay, all right, I think we're, anybody have any other comments? So, Dennis, did you ask for, there was a condition, is that correct? And what was the condition?
I'd asked that there be a condition for this approval that the applicant work with DPD to develop a cohesive plan
Yeah.
for future signage to be put on the building.
And are you accepting that, Mr. Mountain?
Sure.
Okay. All right, could I have a motion, please?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the matter before us, make a motion to approve ZB-2017-12, the petition type of variance, the applicant, Sign Design, Inc., the property located at 1001 Pawtucket Boulevard. The petition, the applicant is seeking variance to install 128 square foot wall sign that fronts a parking lot under section 6.3.4 and any other relief required of the City of Lowell zoning ordinance, with the following condition, that the petitioner provide a cohesive sign package for future sites to DPD.
Okay, we have a second?
Second?
Roll call.
Chairman Bailey,
Approved with conditions.
Member Perrin,
Approve with condition.
Member Peck,
Approve with conditions.
Member Palia,
Approved with condition.
Member Callahan,
Approve the conditions.
Member McCarthy.
Approve with condition.
Been approved, Mr. Martin. Wish you
Hey,
best of luck.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Appreciate your time.
Yep,
Thanks.
thank you very much. Have a good evening. Okay, next order of business is under other business. We have minutes for the March 13th, 2017 meeting and the July 11th, 2016 meeting. Any comments, corrections, spelling mistakes, anything from anybody? Hearing none, could I have a motion, please, to approve?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the minutes of March 13, 2017, and July 11th of 2016.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Chairman Bailey,
Approved.
Member Perrin,
Approved.
Member Peck,
Approve?
Member Palia,
Approved.
Member Callahan,
Approved.
Member McCarthy.
Approve.
Okay, so next meeting is April 10th. And do you have any handouts this evening? Okay. Is there anything on the agenda yet for the 10th? For April 10th?
There was one I remember, yeah, it's like,
Nesmith, and then also 70 Fairmount, or Fairview, it's a driveway.
You have a handout?
It's a curved
Right.
driveway.
Must have been the kindling I used the other night, yeah. Okay, well, I'm sure it's in my package. All right, anybody have anything? If not, motion to adjourn?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adjourn.
Have a second?
Second?
So moved.